we have the book Return of the Ancient Ones, the true history uncovered of the Washita. Okay, and it's this lady right here, Empress Bernice Washita Turner Augustine El Bey of the Black Washita Empire. This is a good book. You should check it out. Now, this is interesting right here in the back of the book. It's chapter 24. VIA, the route of pre-Columbian blacks in America. Across the Atlantic, they came to the Gulf of Mexico, up the old Mississippi to the Washita. The blacks of African descent came, a highly intelligent race of shipbuilders, masonry, a tribe of Israel. I repeat, a tribe of Israel, black and bushy-headed. They were the Washita or Washita Moors. Moors just means black or Negro. So now we're going to go to this different source, 103 amazing facts about the black Indian of the Western Hemisphere outlined. I'm going to start at 95. Many black Indians east of the Mississippi River wore turbans adorned with feathers. Besides the languages having the items of their Hebrew tongue, the wearing of the turban was a physical sign of their genetic link to the Hebrew Israelites. So I highlighted genetic link, okay? And then the ancient Israelites, okay? We're all interconnected. It's a collective. 2,000 years before Christ of the Hamashiach, this track began with the seeds of our foreparents, Abraham, who came from Papa Noah. Noah's son populated the world. They were Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Japheth's children populated the isles of the Gentiles. From Ham came Cush, Seba, Havilah, Septar, Ramar, and Sebdekar, pronouncing it right. Cush was also the parent of a mighty hunter before or in opposition to the Most High, a founder of cities. The eastern colorless nations came to a western populated land governed by an ancient nation of so-called black people. So a lot of people believe that we've been in 400 years of slavery. I don't believe that's necessarily the case. I do believe that there was a black nation as described by Miss Empress Bernice, that there was a nation already here in rulership with a constitution, law, government, and so forth. This original race was later joined by Aboriginal, Far Eastern, so-called yellow race. Ancient and modern science studies testify that the relation between yellow and black is red. The colorless people do not want to admit the fact that the Far Eastern people were the second in coming to the Western world after blacks. It is a kick in the behind for a colorless person to admit that this story has been in the royal ass donkey's butt. The truth is that the black man was here first. So now we're back at the book, 103 amazing facts about the black Indians of the Western Hemisphere. Number 32, the term Moor was applied to dark skin, brown skin, and reddish brown skinned people who are not only indigenous to Europe, but to West and North Africans. Even black Indians of the Western Hemisphere were also dubbed with this title. So now we're going to go to this book, Ancient and Modern Britons, in Volume 1, by David McRitchie, a so-called white or Caucasian man. Let's look at the notes. Let's see. Inhabit blacks, browns, yellows inhabit Europe. Original or aboriginal. A red Indian. In addition, and we're at page 13. In addition to the black or brown and yellow races already spoken of as a prehistoric Europeans, there is a theory, it's not really a theory, that a copper-colored race closely akin to some branches of American Indians, which are the black Indians, right, once inhabited Europe, or rather the southern parts of Europe and North Africa. Now we're at page 16. While a fourth, as we see hints that the home, if not the cradle of the so-called white race was Europe, but there seems little probability of any of these theories ever becoming substantiated. We have just seen that many scientific men hold that there are some grounds for believing that portions, at least of Europe, have formerly been inhabited by black, tawny, and copper colored races. Race just means sea line. And we are also learning that the white race has not always been confined to the Eastern Hemisphere. This will be the last one. Black Danes as Picts. The Danes then were like the Moors, black. Like them too, they were Picts, as more than one eminent writer has proved. This title of Gorm Wold Stain is not confined to Highland genealogies. Like in the movie Braveheart, we see Mel Gibson in the Wold Stain that represents the so-called black man. Blue skin was anglicized in the old world, or black skin was anglicized in blue skin and green skin and so forth. But as we can see, esoterically, this movie was way off, but the ancient Scots and, the Highlands and so forth, those were so-called black people. Okay. So, let's see. It was the actual name of a grim old pagan Dane who ruled over Denmark in the earlier part of the 10th century. And the word survived lately in that provenance of the black Gentiles. Now we're back at 103 amazing facts about the black Indian. Number 33, indigenous black Celts, indigenous black Britons, indigenous black Portuguese, and indigenous black Spaniards, all also known as Moors, had a long time knowledge of indigenous people in the Western Hemisphere. These Moors were well informed of the different customs, traditions, and languages of the natives of the Western Hemisphere. These dark-skinned European Moors were used as buffers by pale-skinned Europeans to help colonize the New World. These indigenous black Europeans, aka Moors, not only solicited the New World to pale-skinned Europeans, but also waged war on indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians. Now I'm going to skip down to 35. Both dark-skinned and pale-skinned Europeans who were either Celtic Briton, Gaelic, or what have you, who were fleeing religious persecution in Europe and were struggling to preserve ancient tradition customs dubbed pagan ways, upon arrival to the New World, ran to the bosom of black Indian nations indigenous to the Western Hemisphere soil, who still held on and were practicing traditional spirituality. Both cultures were different. However, both were able to relate to each other's gods. Black Indian nations and different clans native to Europe both shared a common spirituality that centered around the forces of nature and honoring of the ancestral spirits. Now we're at number 18. Most early European writers during the 1400s throughout the 1800s, including pale-skinned Jews by religion, right? Not the ethnic Jews, all agree that the heathen savage of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians or black Indians, throughout the Americas were without a doubt descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Interesting.
The only Jesus I know is him, and the one thing he don't need is a partner.
Let's see. What is Stockholm Syndrome? Stockholm Syndrome describes the psychological condition of a victim who identifies with and empathizes with their captor or abuser and their goals. Stockholm Syndrome is rare. According to one FBI study, the condition occurs in about 8% of hostage victims.
Mama, how do we know Jesus wasn't black? He could have been from the lost tribe of Israel. They were supposed to be black.
I bet they were. If ever people were lost, we're it.
Number 19, a pale-skinned European by the name of James Adair, an English writer and trader during the 18th century, lived among black Indians in the Southeast. James Adair wrote a book entitled History of the American Indian. In his book, he claimed that the Indians of the Western Hemisphere were descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Number 20, James Adair in his book History of the American Indian wrote 23 arguments to support his findings that the so-called Black American Indians were descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Our phenotypes are all over the world, globe, different continents, and so forth. Truth like this is a slap in the face to his story. We, the careless black people, are paying for not keeping the holy record, the holy word. So we're all interconnected. The so-called black original tribes, native tribes here in the Americas, the black Europeans that came here from war and strife and a lot of the race wars over there in Europe, the black Scots, the black Irish, Anglos, the original Anglo-Saxons were people of color, and so forth. Okay, we all didn't come from the African or transatlantic slave trade. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we're all interconnected. Those three sets: the Aboriginal blacks, black Europeans, and the West African Judeans. Okay, we went after other gods. Now we want to identify ourselves with every nation except our own. So we have to establish a nationality. What are we? I mean, from just reading this, I think she understands that we're the nation of Israel, 12 tribes, right? Scattered, dispersed. We are too careless to teach our children ancient truths, true biblical research, or even archaeology. We depend on someone else to do the research and tell us the truth. Black people, or so-called black people, this will never happen. Do you think an old snake will give you the venom antidote to all the poison his story has been feeding you all these years? No, sir. Rebarb. The barb, a rebarb, is a reinforced sharp prick to keep you in check. We know as slavery was no accident. We brought it on ourselves. The shit was predestined to happen to us over in Africa to bring us here to meet. We, the people who are already here, read the Bible for the truth and not for what the colorless king changed it to and wants you to believe. The facts are still there. You must pull the cover off of the lies.
Some of the scriptures, all the children of Israel were so-called black people.
Oh, wow. Did you hear that? He said all the children of Israel were so-called black people. Hold on, man. Y'all think I'm making this up. Hold on once.
Jeremiah image. Christ was not a so-called white man. Matter of fact, we're going to go and read some of the scriptures. All the children of Israel were so-called black people. Jeremiah 14:2 tell you that Judah was black unto the ground. I'm going to read that now. Jeremiah, the 14th chapter and the 2nd verse says this. Judah mourned, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground. So that's telling you that the tribe of Judah is the color of the earth. If you dig up the earth, it's different shades of brown. Now I'm going to go to the book of Amos, and we're going to find out the color of the whole nation of Israel.
Okay. So far, he's told you that all the children of Israel were so-called black people. All right. Now we're going into point number 3. All right. To find out the whole color of Israel. Let's go.
Amos, the 9th chapter and the 7th verse says this. Bear with me a minute. Are you not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? So what is that saying? That's saying that the Israelites look like the Ethiopians. Now,
You see that? He said that he just told you Amos 9 and 7 is going to allow you to find out what color the people were of Israel, right? And he said what? According to Amos 9 and 7, the Israelites look like the Ethiopians. So that further supports his stance that all Israel is so-called black people, right?